Hey, guess who I have for dinner, lunch, breakfast for you girls out there? But it's only virtual because I know his wife and I like her. So you can feast right now. You can feast on him right now without being interrupted. I like this little gold. What is this?
Hey, this
I
is
like it.
called
I like it. I like it.
this
Looks
is
good.
called this is called Father Time is undefeated. Like one of my boys always says, like,
Well,
you can't run from it.
you can run
It's
from that.
the real deal.
I think it looks really good though.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Lamman. How are
How
you?
you doing, sweetheart? How you been?
Oh, I'm actually good.
Good.
I'm good. I've been in the house now for like 3 months though. I haven't been out but once.
I
How about
know
that? You know,
it's
because
good seeing it.
have you been out getting fresh air? You look like you've been
Oh, for sure.
good.
Got to. Got to. Obviously within reason, right? And responsibly and all that. But absolutely, you have to, because I think we were all getting some serious cabin fever. So you got to have some discipline, though, I think, and having that discipline was absolutely key. Um, Now, just because things are, feeling a little better, or people are getting a little too lax, I think, still got to have some discipline because we're not completely out of the woods yet. We won't be for quite some time. So, but yeah, you got to get out and stretch your legs, smell the roses.
I'd rather
Um,
stretch my legs another way while I'm at home if I have a friend. Okay, you know how I am.
come on. Like,
Let's get back on. Okay, we're talking about
be
you.
good. Try to be a good girl today, okay?
Okay.
You think you can do that? You think you can do that? You think
Again,
you can do that,
you know,
baby?
Lamman Rucker is an American actor, African American actor, and began his career on the daytime soap operas As the World Turns, All My Children, before he started the roles with Tyler Perry's films like Why Did I Get Married? Dag! Why Did I Get Married Too? Dag, Dag! And Meet the Browns. And his television adaptation. In 2016, he began starring as Jacob Greenleaf in the Oprah Winfrey Network drama series Greenleaf. Welcome, Lamont. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. You
Yeah.
know what always gets left out in these bios
What it is?
is people forget that, even though we, like, just to work backwards, even though the show premiered in 2016, Greenleaf actually started in 2015. You know, yeah, that's when we actually started doing it. So that's what's always funny, how these time frames. And then similarly, I did the Temptations and other stuff even before the soaps, and people for so, like, people
Well,
forget
we
about.
can all go back and check it out now, so we can do
I
that.
know. Well, what's funny is, sometimes when things get written up,
Mhm.
people that leave certain details out, but like, you can't leave the Temptations out. That's classic.
I don't think I remember you in the Temptations.
Okay, now that go back and watch. You'll be
I
like,
will do that. So,
there he is.
you
There
know,
he is again.
I do
You'll
as
see.
I'm told.
It might take you a second to recognize me, because I got a big old wig on and all that. But
Yeah, I've seen the Temptation though. When
yeah,
was it done? Because it was
that was
are there two versions?
that was 99.
Yes, I've seen that. I didn't know you were in there.
99. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How you? Listen, you look great.
Thank you. You too. You looking good.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I've been home for 3 months. I went out one time for like an hour, and that was it. But I have a big apartment. I have a lot to do, so I don't feel
I'm about to
cabin
say there's
fever.
plenty to do. And you probably needed to sit your butt still and get some rest anyway.
Well, you know what I did? I was sleeping at first. I don't know if it was depression or what, but like 14 hours a day. It was
But
really
you know what? Believe it or not, sometimes that's good too. Yeah, your body will tell you what you need.
right,
And I think
right.
there are a lot of folks who had to try to feel that out. Like, oh man, am I in a funk, or am I exhausted? You know,
Well,
is this
a lot
finally
of
an
people,
opportunity for my body to really catch up?
a lot of people don't give sleep credit. Because I was
I think
taught,
it's a waste of time.
yeah, but it's not. You need to have that. And people say, "Well, Jamie, how do you still look so good?" Or so I sleep. I tell them
That's
I
right.
sleep. That's an important part. Do you get a chance to sleep a lot?
Oh
Because you
yeah, I
work a
play
lot.
around. it's all about, and I learned that as an artist. You know, I mean, as hard as you work and the kind of hours you put in, I remember this even as a teenager, man. It's like, and then naturally as a teenager, you know, your body's changing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm probably grew a couple inches every few months anyway, but I mean, I basically believe as, and I know this for a fact, even physiologically, the harder you work, the you need to be equally committed to your recovery. You
Yeah.
know, so and then as an athlete, you know, dancer, all these things, you learn that. You learn how to take care of the body, take care of the instrument, right? You
Mm-hmm.
take care of the mind, the spirit, all of that, and equally, you have to give all of those elements of your body the opportunity to heal and to recover. And that basically is what sleep is. A big part of what happens while you're asleep. Your body doesn't just shut down. Your body is very active, but that's when it's actively healing itself, you know, going through its own restoration and revitalization of all these systems and vital organs and functions in your body. And if you don't give your body the opportunity for it to do that, then you know,
Yeah.
you stop becoming a well-oiled machine, and then you're just this, you know, car that you're just running into the ground. You'll get raggedy real fast if you don't adequately take care of yourself. Some people go from one extreme to the next. They drive themselves crazy, and then they try to, you know, do some kind of like extreme vacation, and then just go back to driving themselves crazy again. You know, I believe in a little bit more
You see
of a
all that
balanced
in your
lifestyle.
line of work, right? You see all that sort of thing in your line of work because you come across a lot of different artists, a lot of actors and actresses. You know, do you talk to them about their health and do you try to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I do for sure. And just think about just within the last, I'll even say probably 5 years, right? Even if we said 10, think about how many people we've lost, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And a big reason why we lost them is not just because of, you know, you can't just chalk it up to bad habits like, oh, that's just the lifestyle. To a large degree, it's because, you know, medicating themselves for a variety of different reasons, medicating themselves to get all this energy, and then
Right.
medicating
Stay up.
themselves so
Yeah.
that they could go to sleep. Because some people literally, I can't sleep, so now I got to take something else. And so, you know, trying to do these things artificially, um, how's that working for us? I mean, let's just keep it 100, right? How's that working for us? Any of us who are living, I'll say, normal lifestyles, and then those, you know, those of us that we love and adore and have been some of the most exceptional artists in the history of entertainment and music and, you know, television and theater and whatever. And we've lost them because their bodies, you know, have succumbed um, to the just really the years of abuse and that, you know, that they put themselves through and that they put themselves into. But why? You know, I mean, to some degree, hell, we did it to them because we're so demanding of what we want and what we need from each other. It don't make no sense for Michael Jackson to be trying to do 50 shows in 30 days or something like that. That's nuts.
Well, he didn't want to do it. That's them that were trying to get him.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. We're all kind of a slave to if you're not careful, you can become a slave even to, you know, a master of your own making. You know what I mean? But so we have to be very careful. I talked to a couple of my boys even. I'm like, look, you know, I know you trying to get this money, or I know you got a family to support. I know you have your dreams and your aspirations and so forth. But what are we doing? Literally working ourselves to death? Like, what's the point in that? You know? You're not present for your families. You're not present for yourself. You know, how can your relationship with your wife be healthy? A lot of guys aren't in the greatest of physical health. You know, I can see it in one of my boys. I can see it in his skin. You know, another one I can see it like in his eyes. I mean, guys are gaining weight, and you know, and it's not that the weight is an issue. It's why and what kind of weight. You know, it's because it's high blood pressure and hypertension and not eating well, or they're smoking and drinking, and, you know, or the travel schedule is so nuts. You know, how can they really get themselves into a really healthy schedule of eating smart and exercising or being active or whatever? So yeah,
Are
we got
these
to be really,
guys,
really careful. We got to
are
be
these
really careful.
actors? Are they actors? Are they ball players? Or
It very, that's, yeah, I'm speaking broadly, that all of those, yeah, some of them, whether it's, and even, and the funny thing is, some of them, since you mentioned athletes, they were former athletes, collegiately, professionally, whatever, but now, because they're running their own businesses, now maybe they're, trainers, or, right, nutritionists or something like that. So now they got all these clients they got to take care of, or all these people that they're training and keeping themselves sharp and in shape. Then if they're guys, or even several women that I know are professionals, in this space as well. They're doing media, they're doing special events, they're doing conferences, they got their own, DVDs, and they got their online content. I mean, the schedule is nuts. So even people that are in other spaces that you might not think are directly connected to sports and entertainment, it is, because they're in some of these maybe supportive fields, but they got to be mindful of their own health just the same.
what's your best role? What role did you enjoy the most?
That's always an impossible answer, because I love every single one of these dudes, so much. And then there's things about each of them where I want to like knock these dudes upside the head, because there's, but that's just because they're flawed. And because I know how flawed they are, I want them to be better. But there's nothing more fun and more interesting than to play them truthfully and honestly who they are and where they are, which is, all of us are works in progress. We all trying to figure this shit out. We don't know what we're doing, no matter.
I thought your very first role was when, the Tyler Perry movie with
That was your favorite?
was my first time seeing you. I hadn't seen you before.
Oh, really?
Right. And so I thought that when they revealed you, the way they revealed you as she's looking up, I thought that's how you were being revealed to the audience. I was in Europe for a long time, so I didn't see your body of work. I missed a lot. You were in soaps, right? Were you in a couple of soaps?
I was on, prior to that, I was on Law and Order, Half and Half, as well, for a season. I was on All of Us. I recurred on All of Us, for a season before that. Like I said, 3 years on the soaps. So several credits prior to that. But yeah, based on especially the timing and the rise of Tyler's brand and his work, and the way Why'd I Get Married hit. Yeah.
My God. Yeah, that was it.
It was a trajectory change for everybody involved, and Tyler too. I'd be so bold as to say. I mean, that was incredible.
What's it like working with Tyler?
What's that?
What's it like working with Tyler?
I had fun, man. I had fun working with him. I haven't. I mean, he's somebody that I love and respect a great deal. So I appreciate the time, that we've had to spend together and work together, and extremely excited for him, personally and professionally.
Don't you wonder, how does he get all these characters, all these topics, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, but I mean, we all have it at our fingertips. It's real life, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes we overlook what's right in front of our face, and he's one of the people who also took the courage to even put God at the forefront of so much more conversation. That wasn't, as much of a trend as it is now, right? Mm-hmm. Before he really took the liberty to do that, to really deal with what's going on in our families and in our homes and in our relationships, and Black love. And again, he's always uplifted the Black woman, throughout his work. I mean, all of that. I mean, those are things that we weren't getting enough of. And he was smart enough to just talk about what's right there on the tip of our tongues, and right there, in our hands, and right in front of us. And like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's celebrate it. Let's deal with it.
What are you doing now?
Who, me? Mm-hmm. I got a couple things I'm working on. New things in development. I was actually supposed to start a film this week, but of course, with everything that's happening, everything's completely disrupted. But I have a film that I'm attached to called This Love Wins, which I'm really excited about. And so it's about exactly what it suggests. It's about love. It's it's a romantic, you know, comedy, but it really is about, you know, it's about our children. It's about, you know, a lot of the issues that we're facing with foster care, and the challenges and yet the joys of adoption. You know, the issues that a lot of our families have um, with infertility, you know, some of those challenges, a lot of things that people don't often openly, you know, talk about or deal with. And and also just the principle that love is going to be sometimes maybe where you least expect it. And love in many forms, right? Not just romantic love, but God's love, your love of children, and how family might end up coming to form, similar to the brother you just mentioned, you know, who's locked up. I mean, who would have ever thought that the way he comes into being brought back into family, or even, right, becoming part of someone else's, and them a part of his life. Like you can't always draw this up, you know. So
that was the highlight. I mean, I did thousands of interviews and stuff and published all those letters, but that was the highlight of my career.
yeah, that's incredibly moving. And I mean, that speaks so much to how God can work, you know, and how you can't be afraid to ask for help. You can't be afraid to ask for love sometimes. And it says, and
just ask for it, and you just poo-pooed me. Like, you're like, you don't need to get married. You don't need to be with nobody.
I didn't poo-poo you. I just didn't feed into the little bait you're trying to throw out there.
Okay.
I need a boyfriend. You know what I mean?
Tell me about the George Floyd case? You've been following it, I know. So.
Yeah. So, there's so many angles to take on this thing. I mean, but just the normalcy of that police officer and his partners, how casual their behavior all was. You know, it's the disturbing thing about some of this is not just the singular event. It's really the reality that this is not a singular event. It's so entrenched and it's so ingrained in their habit. It's so ingrained in some of their personal individual ideologies.
It's a pandemic.
It's so ingrained in the institutionalized training procedures and public policy and legislation and all these things. I mean, these approaches to how you know, people very openly and freely dehumanize other people. It's savagery at its even at its best. It ain't even savagery at its worst, you know.
Are you afraid when you're driving or anything when cops come along? Are you sensitive?
I mean, yes and no. Unfortunately, it's like we learn how to navigate in this world and in this skin in a certain kind of way. So no, I don't walk around looking over my shoulder every day, but at the same time, it's just like a street smart. It's a sensibility that you have that, while I'm out and about, there's just things you just kind of almost like you know better. There's just things you just don't do because you wouldn't want that to bring any unnecessary attention to you. I mean, there's even gender dynamics that aren't even racial dynamics. If I didn't know you and you're on the sidewalk in front of me and you're not walking as fast as I am and I'm approaching you, I'm going to intentionally make sure I give myself some space as I pass you, so that you don't get uncomfortable or feel like there's a person in particular, a tall Black man rolling up on you that you didn't see or didn't hear coming. Or I'll jiggle my keys, or I might cough. There's even things I realize I've done them subconsciously, but it's all part of kind of letting that woman know as you're approaching that somebody's coming up behind her that she might not be able to hear or see. We shouldn't have to worry about that. But I've been in situations where women have flipped out because, you know, they didn't see you coming. I've been in situations where if I saw somebody coming out of my, coming into my blind spot and then they're too close to me, I'm getting ready to elbow them in their face. It's just
You're talking about a man, not a woman, though.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. I've almost done that to a woman before because she had no concept of, I'll never forget, she was running across the street and she chose to run in between two cars that I was, kind of passing by, right, on the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. And the way she came and ran up into between those two cars, you can tell she didn't have the same concept mm-hmm. of personal space, the fact that the speed which she's running across the street and the angle she's coming on is what somebody could potentially do who's trying to, catch you slipping in whatever way. She's not even thinking like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but it's just in your instinct to have your antennas up. And if somebody's coming at you at that speed, at that angle from across the street, mm-hmm. you ready to, she almost got laid out. I mean, she would have, but then the scary thing is, if that would have been the case and I put my hands on her, it would have looked like I was the aggressor and I knocked some woman out on the sidewalk. Right. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we even have to consider all of these things, but it's kind of a normal thing. It's like, all right, it's a certain time of night. I'm at a stop sign. Yeah, all my lights work, right? Okay, let me make sure I'm coming to a 4-wheel stop. Let me make sure I'm using my turn signal. All my paperwork's in here, right? Yeah, sometimes you gotta go through this little checklist to make sure you're straight,
What do you mean all your paperwork? Your driver's license?
Yeah, like registration, whatever, okay. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. Yeah, it's unfortunate that we even have to consider that or think about those kinds of things. All right, what part of town am I in? What kind of car am I driving? Am I by myself? Do I have on a black hoodie? Do I have on a baseball hat? It's like you got to worry about these images that could potentially be somebody else's reason for targeting you or profiling you when there's plenty of other people that don't have to even think about it at all.
Well, a lot of our children don't have people teach. My father would teach us that,
right.
Receptors, but we don't have fathers in our home now.
Well, we do. That's not true, Jamie. So I'm a challenge.
Okay, tell me where are they?
Yes, we do. There are plenty of them. We're there. Even the numbers are even. I'm gonna start walking around with some statistics.
Okay.
Because that really is a very untrue narrative. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't do better, and that doesn't mean that isn't something that our community does suffer from, because we understand how important the father is and how important it is for the black man to be. And the other detail is for that black man to be in the home, right?
Right.
But that's a different detail than sometimes what that suggests is that fathers aren't present and that they're not in the child's life and that they're not part of the equation. So mm-hmm. that's very untrue. Mm-hmm. And the statistics actually suggest that black men are even more engaged and more present and more involved with their children than other cultures and races, believe it or not, whether they're in the home or not. So what's really interesting about that is I want us to be really careful about not being the ones to perpetuate kind of the narrative.
I'm glad to hear that, because most of my friends don't have the fathers there, So, but okay, I'm glad to hear that. If you're saying that this is true, this is not true, bravo, because I want you all in the home. That's where I want.
Exactly.
Because you have to teach, just like about perception and stuff. You have to teach that.
Right. That's right. And then the other thing is, that's why, again, teaching and mentorship and, other leadership and having these other positive role models in the community is so important, because even if a child doesn't have that man in the home, which again is also connected to whom? I mean, you and I are giving each other all this love, energy, but unfortunately, if the relationship dynamics aren't healthy, then it's the woman who ends up having the power and the authority to kick him out or dismiss him. So not that I'm asking our women to be unhappy or to be in situations that are even maybe harmful or dangerous or abusive or where there's distrust or infidelity or whatever. But some of what we suffer with is when the relationship isn't working, that now who really suffers is the child not having that man, available to them the way they should, maybe in an ideal situation. But if that man's still in the equation, it shouldn't be about his child support check. It should be about his parenting. It should be about his, right, him being present and active, and this kind of love and education and discipline and protection and everything that we're talking about. And if it's not him, there are other trustworthy men, within reach. So don't be afraid, to allow some of the other men who were there who would gladly lift that child up. Don't be afraid to allow them in the equation. Everybody don't have to be an athlete either,
No, I know.
But we need more men in education. We need more men who are committed to mentorship. We need more men who are like, I don't want nothing from fine ass Miss Jamie next door, but I'm gonna make myself available to her kids without wanting anything from her. You know what I mean? Yeah. And vice versa. We have to take more of that initiative, because your kids are my kids, whether we're related or not.
So, but the reason there's so many of our guys that are locked up and they're not with it, you understand, they can't be with their child or can't be visited. It's hard for you to dictate what your child should or shouldn't do when you're not there and the mother is there. That's what I'm talking about, because what was it? The stop and frisk thing, they just took people and just threw them in there, and then they
and that's the thing. How many of us are in there for our own, because we did something foolish, and how many of us are in there because of how we were, targeted, set up, trapped, or again, all the other things that we could say, right, that are well documented that we're victims of based on, again, institutionalized issues or, other limitations or, limitations to access to education and employment and so forth and so on. So I can't even count how many incredibly brilliant men, I know that we've lost, in the street or to some other foolishness.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the reason why they're there wasn't because they didn't want to be involved with their children. The reason why they're not there is because they got jammed up in something else. Yeah. Or they got, they've had issues with incarceration or whatever.
Somebody teaching you what to do. Like my father, he put us on the sofa every Sunday. Every Saturday, every Sunday. The four of us, my brother and the rest of us, and he just taught us about life constantly for an hour. We had to read the newspaper. I'm talking about from about 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. It's four of us. Then he would take us down. He would tell us the kind of person that we should marry or shouldn't marry. Okay, that's very important. Then he would take us down to the worst part of Chicago on 47th Street, where we would see all the derelicts and the people on drugs and alcohol, and talking to us. You don't want that. You want to have a job. You don't want to be with a person like that. I mean, just every Saturday. Then on Sunday, he sat us all on the sofa and talked to us about how you act at your job. You don't go in the corner whispering, because you're being watched all the time. And so if you're not attentive, if you're not good at your job, if you're over there gossiping, then when the opportunity to get a better job within that company, you're going to be overlooked. You understand? Because maybe it's a job you have to be trustworthy. I became a patent attorney's clerk. I had to know what I was doing, and also I had to keep my mouth shut because these are patents. This was at the Teletype Corporation. He would even tell us how he would help us get dressed when we were getting, at the job.
What's powerful about that is for a man to be doing that for girls. You had a very significant advantage with that. A lot of times, our a lot of families, and not just our families tend to say, okay, let the man deal with the boys and the woman with the girls. And we know the dynamic of women working with boys, especially in the scenario where, if the man isn't present or because she's just the mom, right? But we don't often talk about how profound it is for men to really be directly involved and engaged with how their girls are shaped. So what you're talking about right now is incredibly powerful, because the women that I know who've had that,
right,
and where that's been a strong element in their lives, it's a huge difference maker. And the ones who didn't, the ones who didn't have much engagement from their fathers, even if he was there and present and in the home, when he wasn't really at the forefront of their formation and communicating with them about how to be a lady. It's different when you hear how to be a lady from from a woman in your family when you hear how to be a lady from
From a man's,
man,
oh my
and
God.
vice versa. When my father's telling me and teaching me, you know, what's required of me as a man and as a young man, you know, it's also, it's a different kind of resonance when a woman and your mother, you know, grandmother, whoever is also telling you, yep, this is, you know, this is how this is what I like about that behavior, or this is why this is important, or this is why, you know, we require this of you. Both of those energies are so important, but you very rarely hear about the father-daughter dynamic.
Oh, it was serious. He would say, he would line us up it's 3 girls, and he said, you're sitting on a gold mine. You don't let anybody go digging in it. Okay. You know, and he used to tell my brother, you keep your thing in your pocket. You know, you keep it zipped up in your pocket. But then he and my mother, he would take, that was on Sundays, but on Saturdays he would go get this the latest Sam Cooke whatever song or whatever, and he would push back the cocktail table, put the music on, and he would teach us how to dance. He'd teach us how to cha-cha and all this stuff. Then we had to get dressed, and then he would take us to the VFW club where they were having a DJ there, and the grown-ups would sit and drink beer and eat fried chicken that was there while the children danced. And see,
Right.
the Hispanic community,
Supervision.
they children to dance with them. You understand?
Right. And that was also supervision.
Yes.
That's right.
Very much so. So
That's
then,
right.
you know, the father is so important in the girl's life, because he says a man will say this, a man will tell you that. You know, oh baby, I love you. You know, you cannot just accept that without, you know, you need to come home and tell me, Dad, what do you think about this? So he left it open. Now, he was bad in other circumstances too, but you know, he wasn't perfect. But he spent a lot of time talking to us, and he made us read the newspapers on Sunday. And as children, you know, read this article here for me. You know, so the father, that's why the father is so important.
Parents are the teachers, man. Parents are you know,
God.
they're the first and the best teachers. They're the most powerful ones, you know. And people don't really understand that until they're in the situation, and they think it's just all about having this little real life baby doll or something like that. It's like, nah, if you're not really ready to be a teacher, you're not ready to have no kids.
Okay, you know, I gotta ask you. People want to know. Here are the questions. How is his love life? You know, I know, but you know, they ask. Women always want to know this stuff. I'm looking at the questions here.
I'm very, very happily married to a phenomenal woman, beautiful sister. So
she
I
is
appreciate you asking. Yeah.
How long is it now? 5 years? 4 or
5. Yeah.
Oh, I guess they're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
So what do you like about marriage?
What do I like about marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a good question. I took my time. So, you know, I love, I mean, it's corny when people say this, but you know, when you really understand the value of, again, of friendship, and loving somebody is also different than liking them. Mm-hmm. So I also knew that I was ready to be married, and in particular, ready to be married to her. When I also realized how much I actually liked her. And
that night part is very important.
Yeah, wanted to be with her, wanted to be around her, like the way she smells, you know, all of that. So, but that also took time. That, you know, I think people have to take the time to build that, you know, be friends, work on your communication skills and your conflict resolution. And, you know, everybody's got this list of what they want from other people, but they rarely have a list of, you know, what they want from themselves or what they need to work on in themselves. So I've never believed, and thankfully she either, in being like, you know, you make me whole, you know, type of thing. So, you know, I think part of getting to know somebody and really the true meaning of intimacy isn't sexual, you know, at all. There's a spiritual intimacy, there's an emotional intimacy, there's an intellectual intimacy. There's so many other ways to be connected to each other. And that's where the real work is, and that's where the real connection is, I believe. So I'm glad we dated for several years before, we continued to decide that we were gonna, right, take things to whatever that next level was. And I'm glad that I was, honest. I was honest with her. I was honest with myself about what I wanted and what I didn't want it, what I was ready for and what I wasn't ready for. I'll let you in on a little secret. One day she even asked me if I was seeing other people, and inside I was like, damn it. Just like, oh, how am I going to answer this question? I literally remembered like second guessing being honest, and
Wait a minute.
I'm glad that I caught myself, because instead of coming out of my ass with something stupid, instead I remember kind of asking myself, well, wait a minute, who are you, right? And who do you want to be? And luckily, those were pretty much the same thing. Who am I? I'm a respectful, strong, loving, honorable man who knows how to tell the truth. Who do I want to be? The same. And not just who wants to be able to tell the truth, who will continue to make a habit of it. So basically I was like, so why be anything else right now? Right. And if she can't handle it, that's her work, not yours. Right. So
did she appreciate it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, those are also the things that I believe are difference makers. So you'd be surprised how people show up when you give them the opportunity to, to do so. But if you're lying to yourself, or you're avoiding a lot of times what we're doing is, men sometimes aren't really so much trying to hurt a woman or to set her up or to put her in harm's way. We actually sometimes are trying to do the opposite. You think you're lying to her is protecting her. You think you lying to her is not hurting her feelings and telling her what she wants to hear and making her feel good and making her feel safe, when all you're really doing is setting her up to be disappointed and for her feelings to be hurt. And you're putting yourself in a position to where you are being not only dishonest and becoming that dude, but you're also, you're just you're setting yourself up for failure, because at some point you're going to be exposed, or at some point you're going to go against what you say, because that's not really what you believe and that's not really what you want or really where you are. So I just remember moments like that were very definitive. So I'm glad she had the courage to ask, because again, if you don't ask, you're just making assumptions. You often going to play yourself that way too. But she asked, and I was like, you know what, actually, yes, I am still seeing other people, so, but again, what did that even really mean? Did that mean I'm sleeping with other people? Did that mean I'm, and even if so, how many women am I actually sleeping with? Right? There's details to that. So some of those details, of course, I wasn't interested in getting into, right? At the same time, there was some of those details that I was just like, all right, look, I feel that that's only your business to the degree that, yes, you want to know that you're safe, right? And that we're being safe and we're being responsible. And I don't even know if we were being sexually intimate at the time, but my assumption is that we were. So
you don't remember?
Well, because the timing of it, yeah, I don't remember, because we weren't always throughout the entire course of our friendship and the progression of our relationship. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I was kind of like, well, look, that's, to some degree, you don't need to worry about that. I got that. So let me handle that, and when I'm ready to move forward in a certain way with you, I'll make sure there's nobody else in the equation that I'm dealing with in the same way. But I was like, you got to give me some time. You know what I mean? You knew here. There's a couple people that was already in rotation. You know what I mean? You knew here. No, but no, my point was, it's like sometimes we got to be fair about the process of dating. That's really my point. So, so again, how we've learned and how we've worked together, working through stuff like that, those are the things that I think have made the difference in how and how kind of one woman rises to the top, if you will, than another. it's these other kind of like functionalities that are equally as important. It's just not how your heart feels. It's not just how she looks, and it's not just, you know, how well you all get along, and, you know, these kinds of things. But I think it's equally about, you know, what kind of communication skills and habits that you establish, that you sometimes create unique ones, because you got your way, I got my way. Now we need to create a third way, which is the we way. You know what I'm saying? It's our way, which might be is going to be completely new to both of us. So we got to give each other a break, you know, with how we learn to work through establishing this new
You're very
system,
analytical. Is she the
this
analytical?
new way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have, you know, your brain's gotta be in it. I mean, you know, that doesn't mean you don't listen to your heart, but even that, like, you gotta have the courage. Okay, what's my heart even saying? What's it want me to do? What's it asking for? What's it requiring and demanding of me? And it's, you know, and this is why I think people need to give themselves some time, grow up a little bit, stop being in a rush, you know, to do all of this stuff too, man. You know, and I think that's across the board. That's why I'm even thankful career-wise that I didn't jump right into the theater and on Broadway, or, you know, into the music industry or film and television right out of high school, like I could have and was tempted to, or even a couple years out of high school. I almost left college early to, you know, to try to just go for it and do my thing. I'm pleased that I took my time.
When did you learn how handsome you were? And
When did what?
When did you learn how handsome you were, that women would be really into you?
You know, well, first of all,
how old were you? 12, 10?
You want me to be perfectly honest with you?
Well, yeah.
I was 4.
What did you hear? What did they say?
I promise you. You know what I honestly remember? I remember people talking about how beautiful I was, in particular because my parents were so beautiful. You know, it was just like, oh my God, look at him. And you know, I can't, trust me, I'm not being cocky in this moment. This is just me gradually throughout my life having an awareness. I thank God it's never gone to my head, but that awareness actually happened very early. I remember getting so much attention when I was a child, but it really, again, was not just a reflection, I think, of, you know, just my own kind of disposition. I think I was an easy child to kind of, to coddle and cuddle and pass around and play with and all that. But I think, you know, being a product of my 2 parents, who are also so well liked and loved, and like I said, and so attractive themselves, that I benefited from that, really. And then as I evolved and matured, I mean, I remember girls fighting over me in elementary school, you know? I remember girls bullying me in 2nd grade, you know, talking about, you know, I go with you. I was like, what? He's like, I go with you. I'd be like, okay. I mean, I was soft. I was a little punk. I was, you know, I was like, okay, you know. I mean, I joke around. I think I told one of our boys jokingly not too long ago, one of the nastiest notes I ever remember to this day, a girl wrote me in 2nd grade, Jamie. Okay. So my point in all that is, I think it's really interesting that you asking me that question, for you to ask me that question now, huh?
What was in the note?
I can't even, I think even psychologically I had to omit it. And then I got in trouble because when I received it, I called myself trying to like write something in response. And then of course, that's the one that gets caught, right? Yeah. And you know how the letter gets mailed home to your parents and all that. I took an L for that one. But okay. But my point is, I've gotten, you know, I've learned how to deal with that and manage that as a result of having to deal with that from a very young age. I mean, and by the time I got into middle school and high school, I mean, I had men and boys coming at me too. I mean, high school, I was getting stalked by, you know, but I remember 2 grown men at one point, you know, so it's like, it's not, it ain't cool. No. If you don't know how to deal with it, and if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, and even a very humble understanding of what that means, and learning how to manage even how other people are going to respond to it, that has nothing to do even with you just walking in your own skin. But I'm thankful that I've had a lot of that experience, because it's given me a very significant amount of insight to some, for lack of a better way to put this, for what it also must be like to be a woman,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how women have to constantly deal with this same kind of energy, you know. And I remember growing up with girls, they couldn't they couldn't control how pretty they were, you know, and God forbid they start physically developing. She can't control how developed she is or how fine she is, and she's only 8 or she's only 12 or 18 or whatever. Like, I felt bad for some of the girls I grew up with, you know, because they got the blues, whether it was other people, you know, sometimes treating them poorly because they were so this, that, or the third, or because of the way they were hunted, you know, by people who just wanted to take advantage of, again, how pretty or how shapely or how developed, or, you know, or whatever that they were. And I'm glad that I was a late bloomer. So you use the word handsome. I think that's perfect. It took me a long time before anybody called me fine. You know what I mean? So I learned very early on to appreciate, okay, being that nice little handsome boy, that was harmless, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when things start taking a whole nother kind of sexual undertone, that's a significantly greater responsibility. And so I'm glad that I was a late bloomer, in the sense that I didn't really have to deal with like that sexual energy until later, you know, until later in my life. I don't even think by the time I graduated from high school, I think somebody finally, at least that I remember, called me fine when I was like 11th, maybe 12th grade. You know what I'm saying? And I knew people who people were calling fine, like I said, since middle school. So I'm glad that I didn't have that responsibility and I had that pressure, you know, till like, listen, a lot of people don't know. Look, I'm giving you all kind of secrets. A lot of people don't know. I didn't lose my virginity till I got to college.
Who took it?
I can't tell you that.
No, you don't have to tell me the name, but I mean, was it a woman?
She was like a junior or senior, you know, and I was freshman. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was a freshman, and and then after that, all hell broke loose. But
with you, right?
yeah. Once that door opened, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. But no,
Oh
thankfully again, I've always learned how to protect and respect my body, protect and respect a woman's body. I give, again, a lot of that, not only to God's grace and protection, but the education that I got as a teenager, you know, the parents. And I remember my uncle was the first one to give me condoms when I was like 13 and teach me what they were and what the purpose was. You know, I worked with, I was in a program at Planned Parenthood, you know. We had a whole little teen theater troupe, and we focused on these same kind of issues of, you know, teen pregnancy prevention and, you know, all these other issues that dealt with like teenagers. Huh?
Do you want children? Do you want children?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. You know, like I said, we started a little late. We'll see what happens. But I'll be sure to let you know.
Let me know. I want to be a godmother. Now let me ask you this too.
You'll be the fairy godmother for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. How do you like working with Oprah and Lynn? This questions people, Lynn Whitfield and Greenleaf. How, you know? Tell me a little.
Oh man, same thing. I mean, when it comes to like incredible women, man, I've been so incredibly blessed my whole life to be surrounded by and just immersed in, you know, thankfully kingship as well. You know, again, my father and all the other phenomenal men that I've had around my life and who've touched me and molded me, is a thing of wonder too. But the women, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, I got Lynn Whitfield's my mama, and Oprah Winfrey is my auntie. I mean, you can't draw that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. That's like, you talking about, that's fairy dust land right there, man. I mean, it's crazy.
I had to work with her on a plane down in Atlanta. She is a beast. I mean, she gets those lines down. She becomes that person. I'm like,
she's great.
you know, her mind is so trained to absorb that, all those words. I mean, huge, you know, thousands of words. She's got to.
No, she's dope. She's dynamite. So I mean, it's been an incredible privilege. You know, learn from her, you know, every day. You know, and I told her a while ago, you know, I'll be calling her mama for, you know, forever now. Yeah. So luckily we already knew each other and had, you know,
You
were
and
familiar
Oprah?
with each other before working with one another. I met Oprah a number of times prior to that. I was already familiar with Keith. He and I had worked together previously as well. So the new relationships were pretty much everybody else. Like I hadn't met or worked with either my sisters before, you know, my daughter, my wife. So there were a lot of new faces, but yeah, it was, I definitely feel like it was.
Your sister has a dance studio, right, in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, my sister, yeah.
Your real sister, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that called?
Well, she actually, she was with a studio called Dimensions. And now I forget the studio that she's working out of now, but she's actually working on, I believe, making sure that she has an independent space. So she has a fitness and dance brand that she calls Body Beats. So, you know, she's on Instagram at Body Beats by Bella, Bella, and Body Beats by Bella. Okay. So yeah, she does, you know, she does everything from, you know, contemporary, you know, music to Zumba to, you know, African and Caribbean rhythms and all of that, you know. So she specializes also in liturgical dance. I mean, you know, her span of expertise is broad. Again, like you mentioned, you know, we're born from a dancer, so it's been in our blood.
What's mommy doing now? Is she still teaching or?
Same, yeah. Well, the school she was at, which was the African-centered charter school, Tree of Life, closed down a year or two ago, I believe. So now, especially with all this COVID, you know, everybody's kind of trying to recalibrate and so forth. But yeah, so she's still running her theater company, Nubian Theater company, and so she's still focusing on her storytelling and African, you know, dance and music and theater and so forth. So yep, she's still the dancing diplomat, and you know.
So tell me, this is I know I'm asking 1,000 questions, but this last one, what's happening down there in Atlanta with this pandemic? Are you all being careful, or people were?
That's a good question. I've been in and out of here. So, for example, when, you know, I went to the park to, you know, to kind of walk and run and work out, most people, yeah, I'd say honestly 75% easily were covered up, you know, and the ones that weren't, you know, they had a scarf around their neck or something like that. So you could tell if, you know,
that they're lifted up if
when they weren't out there running. Yeah. But I have one that's like a sleeve, so it, you know, I can breathe through it. You know, it's not the kind that goes around my ears. That's extremely uncomfortable. My head's too big.
It's a sleeve? How does it stay?
Basically like so imagine like, it's like a neoprene sleeve. So imagine like I put it over my head, you know, and it might be bunchy, but then I can take it and I can basically pull it up. Like that.
Okay. You need to do that when you go out anyway, so you don't get accosted by all these women, okay?
Hey, listen. Hey, it's definitely helped. It has definitely helped. Like when I'm out, but you'd be surprised how many people recognize you anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. They
recognize you anyway. They know my voice, or they know my walk. They know your shape. Like, it doesn't matter. They're like, I know who you are. Like, you know, like, how the hell? What all? I got sunglasses and a mask on, and you can still tell. So, but trust me, it's been significantly less than I would be recognized or accosted, you know, while I'm out in public running errands or something like that. So I do. That's the only thing I kind of appreciate about it. But for the most part, I do see a pattern kind of in who's not covering and who is.
Mhm.
And that's unfortunate, but for the most part, and the predominant number of us
Mhm.
that I see out in public, where we're
We got to
being
do
pretty
everything.
consistent and responsible. But regardless of what anybody else is doing, I make sure that I'm covered up. I mean, I got masks everywhere. I got them in my bag.
What's
People in the
happening under that hat now? What, did you cut your hair or what's going on?
Oh yeah, I need a haircut. So,
Uh,
I'm not taking this off. You can forget it.
can't look all that bad. I'm
Yeah, I
so
need a
glad you
haircut.
spent
Like
some
I
time.
finally, I finally got one a few weeks ago. I was able to squeeze in,
Mhm.
an appointment with my, barber that I have down here. Because I only have like, normally I don't need a barber because when I'm in, if I'm in Atlanta, I'm working. I don't need a
You're
barber,
working.
you
Yeah.
know. But
So what's it like kissing those girls?
I mean, it's great. It's great to be able to do that and get away with it, right? And it's work. I mean, I work with some beautiful women. I ain't complaining. No, 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 no. I mean, we're all friends, and it honestly is just work. I mean, you
You
can't
also
even.
put yourself
I
in that
wish.
mindset.
I honestly wish I could remember some of these kisses. I wish I could appreciate them and have actually enjoyed them. But I think that's a little perverted. And again, it's work. So I honestly, I respect my leading lady so much. Um, but yeah, there are times every once in a while you're like, oh, I just kissed her, you know. Um, you know how many people would love to have just kissed her, but you're in character and it's work, and you're very mindful of like I said, respecting each other's bodies, like not taking advantage of the situation for any personal pleasure. That's never been
Yeah, you can't do
never
that.
been my style. But at the same time, I will admit, um, the women that I've worked with, they've always made it easy to come to work. You know, they've made it easy to come to work.
Lamont, thank you for spending time with me,
My
my
pleasure.
darling, my
My pleasure. My
sweetheart.
pleasure.
Last
Yeah.
time
So
I saw you, we were
stay in touch. So remember, this love wins, right? And then and then I have another project that I'm developing about
This
Paul
Love
Robeson.
Wins. Okay.
Yeah, and then Paul Robeson and Albert Einstein project that I have called Albert and Paul that I'm
Wait a minute. Where is that from? Paul Robeson? Are you serious?
yeah, yeah,
He was so magnificent.
yeah.
Are you playing Paul?
I am.
Who's playing Albert Einstein?
Good question.
When is it coming out?
Well, again, we're still it's still in development, so
Is that
we're
Tyler or
looking
something else? That's not Tyler. Is it Tyler or some
at
another?
Tyler Perry. Oh no, it doesn't have anything to do with him. I don't even know if this would be the type of thing he would be interested in. You never know, but no, this is these other projects. I've worked with Tyler since 2012 or 13, maybe.
Oh, really? Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
been
wait a minute.
years. I
Paul
mean, I would love to work with him again. And trust me, people ask me all the time about why did I get married. Three people love Meet the Browns. They'd love
Oh
for us to
yeah, yeah. I like Meet the
get back.
Browns too.
So rumor is there may be some Meet the Browns reboot. Whether I'm a part of it or not, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. So
What are you working on
um,
now? Then what are you doing right now?
nothing.
Oh,
Greenleaf is as now people know, Greenleaf, this is the final season. So right now I'm a free agent. So
mhm.
whoever's ready to sign me up, let's do it. So that's why I've got these other things in development. That's why I continue to serve and work in community and focus on also my nonprofit. I spoke to you about it before, our Black Gents of Hollywood. So we're doing
What do
some
you all do?
rebranding.
Tell us what you do.
Yeah,
Tell
so we're called the Black Gents. We've truncated it because we're even though we were founded in LA, we're actually going to base the headquarters in Atlanta. And we were working in New York, so we're registered there as well. But we're looking for the Black Gents really become a global brand and a global initiative. And really, what we are is a collective of artists who
hmm
are all committed to basically education, entertainment, and empowerment through the arts, using arts as the primary vehicle for this empowerment and education and uplifting and service and for example, even what's happening now, like, you know, we talked about George Floyd a little bit, but not so much. But at times like this, what is that artist's response, you know, right, to this? How do you get and how do you align and how do you unify the voice of artists? How do you uplift that image of a Black man so that it doesn't get dehumanized or put in a position to where it's going to be devalued the way we saw it devalued with George Floyd's life? You know, how do we speak to our magnificence, you know, not to our victimization? You know, how do we get our young people to identify what makes them special and to identify what their voice is and how they can impact positive change in their lives or in their families or in their communities and even globally. So we partner with different organizations, and we also provide arts education and training. We provide mentoring. We also, you know, are always committed to different service initiatives and partnerships. And this is also about, you know, teaching our young boys how to be sophisticated and how to be men of style and substance and spirit, you know? So, you know, there are already countless Black gents throughout our life, throughout our world, throughout our community, and like to speak of Paul Robeson, throughout our history. So we're tied to, you know, infinite lengths and legacies of greatness when it comes to who and what Black men are. And we want to speak to that and continue to build on that and just really work to revitalize, if you will, and resurrect, you know, this real powerful image and history of who we are and what it means to be a Black African, you know, man, and be proud of it. And even though we've got to walk in a very delicate duality, being African and American, you know, we want to not feel like we've got to hide who we are, you know, celebrate who we are. And it doesn't make us anti anything else, right? It just means, we're going to celebrate who we are, what our voice is, where we come from, and where we believe we want to go, and where we want to take our families and our women and our children and our elders. We want to, you know, we want them to shine and fly to the moon right along with us. So we're just trying to do what we can as men that share at least that core of that core spirit ingredient of creativity, you know, and inspire that creative spirit in everybody else as well, because that's what I believe God gives everybody for not only your own personal self-expression, but to heal and solve the world's problems and, you know, come up with creative solutions to, you know, how we adapt and move forward and love and understand each other. So, so that's a big part of kind of who we are, but, you know,
that's a good part.
We start right where we are, which is, you know, children and families and community.
Well, I'm glad that you spent some time with me, and hopefully you'll keep me abreast of everything that you are doing, especially for this men's group, right? And you're gonna find me a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Nice guy, okay. I can't have anybody right. They gotta be a little bit younger so that they can keep up.
I'll see what I can do. I wish I could clone myself for you, and, you know.
Well, you're too much like a baby brother. I couldn't handle that.
What's that?
I said, you too much like a baby brother. I couldn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I could clone me, but I'd make him look like just a little different. He'd be like a little taller. Maybe make him a little. What do you like? Him a little more chocolate. Make him a little darker. No, give him a different name. But I mean, at least talking about, like, you know, somebody that, you know, I know would love and protect you. That's how I want him to be like me. I'm the only one I trust. I'm the only one I trust.
I know.
You're gonna find somebody enough like me that we know he's gonna do right by you, but he's gonna be very different, so it don't get weird.
Give your wife a beautiful big kiss from me. I love her.
I will. She'll be glad to hear from you.
You can call a negress sometime, little boy.
I know. I'm gonna check on. You know, I have. You know, you got to check messages too, right? You know, you can't be like, call me, and then you don't call nobody back.
Well, you got
that don't make no sense.
Stay in touch, though. We stay in touch. We're going to be working
Of
on.
course, you know it. But I know eventually you're going, you'll get back to me. I know eventually you'll be like, hey,
Yeah,
you know.
when I
and
get a
then-
chance to, I'll spend some time with you and let you know what has been going on.
Yeah.
You
And then
know,
as we're doing right now, this is always an opportunity, for us
Yeah.
to hang out as well as share whatever we're, gonna share at the same time,
Right.
So I'm glad you were able to make some time for me, and our schedules worked out. So miss you, much love, and we'll talk again soon.
And your sister and everybody and your papa. I said hello.
No.
Love, stay safe.
I will. You too.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.